Welcome to the Health Literacy Show with myself, Dr. Baruch, and Sister Heleese. We are bringing in a guest via Skype or one of these internet video mediums. So we're having just a little bit of technical difficulty, but we're going to work that out. I want to thank you all for joining in and being a part of what I think is real essential in 2016 as we look up and we see what's going on in the world around us. I think we recognize that things are changing, and I don't even think we can really anticipate truly what this change is going to look like. And I think it's important for us, for those of us who understand, to put it bluntly, warfare, that if we don't get in a position of control, where we are controlling and having power over the things that are impacting our community, we are going to find ourselves coming up short. So without going into it too deeply, one of the things that we need to control is self. And controlling self goes, you think on the front end that I would probably say, well, that's controlling your diet, controlling what you look at on television. Yeah, all of that is control too. All of that is important and it's necessary. But there's also other control that we need to have, and there's control that when we take it and we embrace it and we have it, we find ourselves being able to affect positively the world around us. And we have Dr. Aaron Motley in the studio with us today, who's going to talk to us about control and about life and about health and wellness. So I want to first thank you, brother, for coming on board. Good morning. How are you?
Good sunrise, and thank you as well for all the work that you do, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with your guests and audience.
Great. And a little bit background on you.
Well, very quickly, I am on social media. I'm Breath Master A. My immediate thing right now is teaching people how to master the breath so that you can begin to get control, as you put it. I'm a holistic health consultant. I'm the author of The Obesity Myth. You're not overweight, you're overwaste. To help people shift that paradigm so they don't get caught up in the running to the gym. I can't make it to the gym. I'm not going to lose this weight, and being under the weight of that. Shifting the perspective and getting control over that by becoming aware that really it's the accumulation of waste in their bodies. So as a health consultant, I instruct, coach people on how to shift that paradigm as well. There's a number of things. Ultimately, I've reached the status of elder in our community, so I have a number of tools that I can share and mentor some folks on. So that's what I'm about. I'm about first control of self and becoming and developing myself as an asset, as a resource for any and everybody that I come in contact with. We all have gifts, and it's critical that we share those gifts. So we have to develop those and be ready to impart.
Yes. And indeed, these gifts, one of them is you referenced what you're doing with breath. And I think if nothing else, we take our breath for granted, because it's always there. Whenever you inhale, you get one, right? But how powerful, and the power of breath is something that I think a lot of us, I don't even know that we take it for granted as much as we just don't have a clue. And, I know that's yeah, okay, I'm with you. I want to talk about that, and I want you to expand on, the significance and the importance of breath. And even before you get there, what made you get into a space where this even, piqued your interest? I know you've been into a health space for years, but, what caught your attention with regard to breath?
Well, I let me just say that at first I got really deep into this thing around health at the loss of my mother, God rest her soul, back in 1989. I had been on a path somewhat before that, but it basically was sealed for me when that happened, because she left us very abruptly, and in a short space of time I watched her suffer and dwindle and wither away, which is, just tragic witnessing. And I asked the Creator, God, Allah, whoever you want to call that energy, that entity, give me information, give me what I need to, so that I don't have to experience this in that way, and that I can have, tools to share with others, so that anybody who's willing to listen and take these things that I will be given and put them to use, so that they don't have to suffer. Suffering is really an unconscious choice. And starting at the beginning of how I got into looking at the body, how it functions, I realized that you have to go back to the very beginning. And for us, that's the moment you come out of your mother's womb. When we come from spirit space into physical space through that channel. And let me say that I revere all mothers, all women who have the potential to become mothers, because they are the closest things to God in physical presence. So we have to acknowledge and accept and appreciate that and them, and give them the reverence that they're due. So when we come out of the womb, the first thing that is noticed is whether or not we're breathing. That lets everyone know that you're a sentient being, that you now have life, and you must continue to breathe. Now, in Scripture, it says God breathed the breath of life into man, and he became a living soul. So when you take that and you look at the fact that your soul is in this body because of this breath, so that makes that thing paramount. And you get scientific people look at how long it takes, how long the body can survive without water, without food, without this, without that, and ultimately they get down to the thing that's quintessential, that you can't survive but moments without. That's breath. And every asthmatic person on the planet knows how crucial every single breath is. So coming from that perspective, I kind of flipped the coin and looked at, okay, if breath is so vital, how is it that we don't acknowledge, don't accept, don't appreciate that gift of life with every breath? So I decided that I would research this, do some fact finding, develop myself in earnest by experiencing this. And ultimately, that's the greatest teacher, experience. So when you begin to experience the breath, you begin to appreciate it in a far more dynamic way. Getting control of your life force energy and how dynamic it is, and whether or not you're going to be able to really move forward in earnest. When you master the breathing process, you can master every single thing along this path called life in your physical body, this vehicle that you are given to have this physical experience with your spiritual self.
Okay. Yeah. And I apologize for those who all are looking. I'm doing the co-host, the engineer, and the host of the show. So a little bit of stuff going on, but definitely the significance of breath was brought out for me when somebody shared with me that you can do Wi-Fi, you can do Bluetooth, you can have satellite, signals going across, you can have microwaves, you can have all of this in this space that you cannot see. What makes you think that the Creator or nature doesn't have the same, more so, and even more complex communication, interaction, and existence in this space that we think is just hollow air? There's so much that's going on in there. There's so much energy. And I use the example of when I cut my grass, I used to take the clippings and put them in a pile. And as I put the clippings in the pile, I started noticing the pile is humongous. This pile is so huge, but my front yard wasn't shrinking. And we get rain, but I knew, okay, there has to be more to this than just the rain. There's something going on, either the air, the wind, something's happening along with the water, along with just the dirt existing as a space to support the seed and the life that is in the soil. There's something going on, and it began my search for something beyond the bounds of what we're being taught. And this ties into a understanding that I have now about knowledge. And there's the knowledge that we know, and there are three elements of this knowledge. There's what we know, there's what we know we don't know, and there's what we don't know we don't know. And I think that last portion is the most significant, to the point where it probably just squashes, dwarfs, everything and anything else that we thought was out here. There's so much out here that we don't know. And so we're talking to our brother, Dr. Aaron Motley, about breath and about life and about the significance of it inside of the body, and how important breathing is. And breathing isn't just about taking in air and expelling air, but there's something that goes on there, and there's significance to cadence, there's significance to depth of breath, and even what you're thinking while you're breathing. And when I think about thinking about our breath, it makes me think about a movie, The Butterfly Effect, and how the flicker of a butterfly's wings can cause a typhoon on the other side of the planet. And I think about that same thing with regard to the energy that we put into the breath. We inhale positive, we exhale negative. We want to fill our lungs with life and energy, and meditation and periods that we go through, I think, are real important, and I think that's something that we should engage. And Dr. Motley is going to share with us not only some techniques, but he's going to continue to talk to us about, how this breath works, and how important it is, and why we need to have another level of respect and regard for it. You shared with us the beginnings and your beginnings in this space, and I'm sorry to hear about the passing of your mother. I'm blessed that my mother is still with us. She's actually, they're looking on the other side of this camera. She's viewing in, unless she's had technical difficulties right on the other end. But she's blessed to have crossed 88 years on the planet.
Wonderful.
And a lot of breathing going on. How many times do we breathe a day? Is that something that you keep on the frontals of your your mind? Do you know about how many times we breathe over the course of a day?
No.
Okay. I'm sorry. my fault.
There are a lot of people who do what I call trivial pursuits.
Sure.
And that is a good number to have if you are into gathering info. But I would venture to say that your body knows.
Yeah.
We always want to know what our heart's doing, what our this is doing inside our bodies, and what have you, because we're in an information deluge. But ultimately, I tell people when I'm lecturing or what have you that, why are you gathering all this information? Your heart is doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
All of your organs are geniuses in and on their own, and they know exactly what they're to do, what their jobs are, how long they're supposed to do it, as long as you're alive and to keep you alive.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, do you give those organs what they need? Or do you impede their function by giving it stuff that it can't process? And when you increase your breathing capacity, your lung capacity, you get more breaths. You're actually going to get less breaths per day, but you're going to get a greater volume of air, which is going to fuel those organs, fuel your spirit. When you change your breathing patterns, just when you just slow down one single breath. Case in point, first time I came in here and I was selling my book, I was giving a breathing lesson as part of my intro to everyone who came up. There was a young lady who approached me, and she was a middle school teacher, and I started to guide her through the breath. And at the moment that she took her first inhalation, slowing down, I instructed her, place the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth, curl it back gently, and inhale slowly through your nostrils. She started her breath, and within 5 seconds, she said, "Stop, wait." And I was like, "What's going on?" She said, "I feel so relaxed." I'm talking within 5 seconds. She said, "I'm stressed all the time. I have anxiety all the time. And you up here showing me how to do this breath, and I'm relaxed this quick. I don't understand. I said, well, just slow it down, sis. Let's continue. Let's get to the other side. Let's do a full inhalation and do an exhalation. When we got ready to do the exhalation, which I told her to open her mouth, drop her jaw, and exhale with a very slowly. She did that. And again, 5 seconds in, wait. And by the end of it, she was so relaxed in her being. And she shared with me, she said, why don't I know this already?
Wow.
She said, I'm a teacher. I teach people stuff every day for years. And I don't know this. This is something that should be taught in every school setting, everywhere. And I said, yes. I said, now you have that tool. What are you going to do with it?
Wow.
You know, the critical element thing is, what are we going to do with those things that we get, those tidbits that make us transformative beings? And when you get adequate oxygen, when you slow down the breathing process, you transform. Ask any Tibetan monk. Ask any yogi. Ask anybody who prays and meditates. When you change the breathing, basically when you change your breath and you slow the breath down, automatically you put your spirit in a state of meditation, in a state of calm, where you can begin to take control over your being, your spirit, and your actions. Say, for instance, somebody crashes through that door right now. We have a choice of fight or flight. But even in that choice of fight or flight, there's a level of control that determines how you respond and the given outcome. Now, if you stay frightened, you can basically just overwhelmed with whoever's coming at you. But if you slow that breath down, you still have that adrenaline. You still have the strength that comes with that. But now you're in control. You can capitalize on whatever weakness that whoever or whatever coming through the door might present that will allow you to take control of the situation and avert being hurt or harmed in whatever way that, you know, the circumstance throws at you.
You've got, you also invited a sister on board,
Yes.
and I believe that we have her connected in. So this is the, this is the engineer's job of testing to make sure all this happens. So we're about to do a real live production test here. And go ahead and introduce us to our sister.
Sister Za'yn Muhammad. Words cannot explain or express who this spirit is. I have yet to truly come close to describing her. The only thing I can say that comes close to describing who she is when I see her, I see God essence. So some would say Goddess, but I see the essence of God truly when I witness this sister and her walk and her works. And she has been a dear friend of mine since I met her back in 2011. She was actually a client of mine for a period of time. We're colleagues now, but I'm her client, she's mine. We share each other's interests, each other's gifts, and right now, as far as what we're doing together, I'm a co-preceptor with her as the primary for men's rites of passage. And folks might say, why is a woman a preceptor of a men's rites of passage? And she called me on this because she had trepidation in doing this. She's been doing a women's rites of passage, which is very dynamic, stellar, incomparable, and a lot of the women who have spouses, partners, and what have you, they've asked her to do something for their partners because their partners have asked them, when can we get some of this? And I said to her these words: what you do is not a male or female rites of passage. It is a spiritual rites of passage. And it has had a female reflection. Now it needs the male. And she said, well, I want you on board with this. And whenever this sister asks me to do anything, if it's humanly possible, my answer is always yes. It's as if my mother reached from the cosmos and said, boy, I want you over here right now.
Right.
I'm there before the vehicle can arrive.
That's it.
This is how powerful this sister is in her work. And I want to introduce you to Sister Za'yn Muhammad, Za'yn of the Healing Lodge. Za'yn?
Sister Za'yn? Okay. We've got some more technical work we're going to do in order to bring her back up.
Well, let me continue. The program that I mentioned, it's a 9-month program. And for the women, she has a number of elders. And I think she says, okay, for each month she has a different elder. It's a different segment of the program that the initiates go through. For the men's rights program, there's 4, maybe 5 segments that myself and a number of other elders, Wayne Chandler is one, and there are a few others. I don't have their names in front of me right now, but very dynamic individuals. Those of you who know the name Wayne Chandler know that basically he is, I call him a little Paul Robeson, because he is a Renaissance man. And what this brother does is extremely dynamic. He's a Taoist practitioner, a yogi, and just a super profound human being. And he's one of the co-preceptors, along with myself, in this journey that we're going to take the men on for a 9-month rebirthing process. You go inside and you learn things about yourself and how to motivate and drive yourself to make accomplishments in the way of developing your being, because the work is done by the initiates themselves. We are there to support and guide that work. So the rites process is basically a process of coming to a stage of life where you are going to be a tool, asset, an extreme shoulder to lean on for members of your community. At each given stage of life, you go through a passage, and when you're given the tools to do that dynamically, you have a successful passage to that next stage of life. And in this, I call it non-culture, we really don't get adequate tools to function from stage to stage, to the point where most of us have reached adulthood, grown men and women who haven't grown up. And when I say grown up, I mean haven't gotten the tools to really be the embodiment of your spiritual self.
Wow.
And that's what this program is about.
And how long does a program like this, typically last?
Again, it's 9 months, and it starts in January. So, give you, for instance, as far as the work that you're going to do in the internalizing. On December 31st, you will come to the Healing Lodge. You will be in that space with other initiates. You will get instructions for 4 solid days. And during those days of instruction and your activity, you will be, as they call it nowadays, off the grid. So no one will be able to contact you. There will be no Wi-Fi, no internet, no video games, no Xbox, no anything except for you in that space of self-recreation. Basically, you're returning to the womb. Now, we know that in the womb, there's a 9-month gestation period, and then you come out and you are a profound spirit in a physical form. Well, this process basically does the same thing. Now, speaking of that, Sister Za'yn is a midwife, and she has delivered thousands of souls through
Keep going.
through the birth canal onto the planet for several decades. So this dynamic sister, and matter of fact, if you want to find out more information about her, go to thehealinglodge.org. TheHealingLodge.org.
Do that one more time for me.
The Healing Lodge, TheHealingLodge.org. And it's critical that you put the in front of that, because if you go to Healing Lodge, you find someone else or another very profound entity that's doing work as well. And in this, in her role as preceptor, she acknowledges what she calls the tribe of two shields, knowing that those of us who have ancestry in Africa walk with that shield, and most of us on this continent that are of African American origin also have some indigenous American bloodline. So we walk with that shield. And not only is that shield a warrior shield, it's a healing shield also, because we when things are done properly, we're taught to heal before we're taught to do harm in the way of protecting ourselves or our community. So the two shields actually is twofold: African, indigenous American, healing, and warrior. And again, this rites process somewhat imitates the gestation period of 9 months, where we're in isolation, because when you're in the womb, there's no one there.
Right.
You talk about being off the grid. You're beyond the grid. You're exempted from the grid for the most part. Tragically, nowadays they're doing so much stuff to children, even in the womb. So we need to revisit that whole process as well. And again, giving reverence to women and their birthing and the birthing process. It's good for them to have knowledge. And back to the breath again. In the process of giving birth, the breath becomes extremely vital. Controlling the breath will allow the controlling of contractions, the controlling of stress levels, hormones, and all of this stuff in that process, and will allow for the ease of birthing versus, some traumatic experience for both mother and child. And in this rites process, the breath will flow seamlessly to allow those initiates to navigate this whole process in earnest without trepidation and being frightful of the unknown, because there are going to be some things that are going to be brand new, because you can't really experience becoming your brand new self with everything that you know now.
Right. And I can just imagine now, one of the challenges that we run into is then we're thrust back into this world. How do you prepare somebody for taking this journey, while at the same time at times having to re-engage this world that we're trying to be born again out of, if you will?
Back to the breath. As I say, everything begins with the breath. Yes, we're going to have tools that we're going to be able to better manage our, I don't want to say diet, I say live it.
Yeah.
You shouldn't die from what you eat.
No.
So you should live from it, so live it. There are going to be tools that you're going to be given to help you to change your eating habits so that you can better function. Also, the way you integrate is you bring those tools with you. You don't show up, empty-handed when you reintegrate. I'm talking day one. As soon as you go through that first 4 days of initiation, when you come out of that, you're already in the process of being reborn. You're in the process of having a new outlook, a new spirit, and having tools that, when you show up, someone asks you, what did you do? Hey, I can't tell you everything because it takes, that 4 days is going to be more than just a conversation, to say the very least. But what I can share with you is one thing, this breathing technique that I learned, or, this new food piece that I learned that ends this continual weight gain scenario that I've been struggling with. So, you have tools that you can share with others. And when you share things with others that allow them to shift in their being, all of a sudden you're welcomed in a different way. You're respected in a different way. You're looked upon as someone who is now walking a different walk, and even more so, a resource and an asset, someone that can be counted on, someone that those struggling can now go to, because ultimately our purpose is to serve. Each and every one of us, that's our most dynamic purpose, is to serve. So you have tools that you've been rendered in the process of others serving you, that you can now deliver to others outside of that community and to the broader community, and be of greater service.
And I would suspect that we're talking about a transformation that is not just going to be isolated to our spirituality, but all aspects of our life, right?
Yes. Yeah. For instance, there's one segment called Temple Mastery. And in Temple Mastery, basically, you learn how to better manage your body. You are taught how to use the breath, how to use water, how to use food, how to use movement, exercise, in a more dynamic way that basically is in alignment with your body's natural physical / metaphysical / spiritual way of functioning, because everything is integrated. We are not just physical beings. You might be sitting up at Popeyes or McDonald's and you might be consuming whatever that burger is, and that's where your mind is, that's where you think that your heart is, but there's some stuff going on in the back of your mind and in the rest of your being that's saying, hey, this ain't it, I'm tired of this, so you need to be able to shift that perspective, shift that awareness, and to get your physical body and your spiritual body out of that space. So these are the things that are aided with that whole, not just physical, not just spiritual manifestation, but the metaphysical part, where those two are integrated. When you change your food, let me just say this, for instance. I'll give this example. When you drink alcohol, it impedes liver function. It hampers kidney function. Now, just those two organs, we're not going to talk about the rest of the body, those two organs. The liver houses the energy for frustration. So when the liver is distorted, you get really frustrated. When the kidney gets distorted, you get angry. Anybody know any angry, frustrated alcoholics? You know? So now when you talk about those two emotions, you're also talking about your spirit. You know? And some folks will look at somebody, say, wow, there's something weighing on that person's spirit, you know? To the point where they even call alcohol spirits, because they know that it affects your spirit.
Yep. Yep.
So, you know, having the tools to cleanse your liver, to cleanse your kidneys, will shift the energy of frustration and anger. You got somebody with an anger management issue, give them some breathing techniques and give them some tools to clean up their kidneys, and you will see a different kind of person. A lot of the psychological things that we're taking through in the way of counseling and what have you are very good tools. But in order for them to be truly effective in a reasonable time frame, and reasonable can be very short, when you add in tools that flush out and cleanse those organs and nourish and rehabilitate those organs, that person doesn't have to go through a long, drawn-out process. And also along with that, their addiction is released.
Wow. Wow. You were introducing earlier a sister that's working with you. I believe we hear volume, so we know we got...
Oh, my goodness. Thank you. Sister,
go ahead and reintroduce her for us. So we...
Once again, everyone, Sister Za'yn Muhammad, midwife, God, essence, in spirit, in form, physical form, my dear sister, my now I can say colleague, Za'yn, welcome. I've seen a
Assalamu
bit,
alaikum. Greetings, Brother Aaron,
Greetings, greetings.
and Dr.
and
Baruch.
greetings to you. I give thanks to you for your resilience and tenacity with this technology. My goodness, it's been a lot. I appreciate very much all the work. I heard everything you said. I was able to tune in completely from my vantage point, but not able to make the this lesser quality technology uh, as created by man work very well for me. I'm very much aligned with the ultimate technology of mind, body, and spirit,
Yes.
and can connect very easily there. But once I have to put this intercessor in place, there will always be problems. I don't know. It just doesn't line up with my soul. But I give thanks for you and your efforts. I appreciate it. I see you over there like true, mixed master working it out. So God bless you for that. God bless you for that. And
Well,
thank you very much, Aaron. I did hear the introduction. I am humbled and grateful. I see you as an absolute divinity, and I appreciate your capacity to see me striving and good character. I believe that we will continue to mirror each other in that way. I did also hear your introduction of the Healing Lodge and the Rites of Passage program. I agree on all fronts, and I like the language that I heard you spoke about off the grid. That's a part of why there's challenge even in our connecting in this way, because I do live my life off the grid. I believe that there is wellness in the biosphere without its hypercrossing with the technosphere. And for me, that means allow this level of technology to have its place and its space and use it to my benefit, and know the time when it is essential to honor just the biosphere, meaning live in those things that are natural and biological to me. And that is why there's sometimes limitations. I live in the trees, and when you say off the grid, to be at the Healing Lodge requires you to literally do that. Just be off the grid. And in the way of the rites of passage, we do encourage, and in many ways, there is no other way to be a part of the Healing Lodge or the men's or women's rites of passage program without separation. We honor the process of liminality. Liminality is the betwixt space, the space between spaces. When you're no longer who you were, and yet you have not yet come into full manifestation of who you aspire to be. That is liminality. Also, that is the premise on which rite of passage is developed, because in that space, you're acknowledging that, yes, I am adult. Yes, I have accomplished much. Yes, I give honor for all that has been added unto me. And there's more to do. There's more that I seek to develop in the, old Christian way. God ain't through with me yet. That would mean that there's more development to be had. And that journey to developing in those spaces is called the liminal space. And the womanhood and manhood rite of passage program gives us, in our maturity, the space and the capacity to hone in on exactly what we are desiring and what our ancestors, what our guides, what our God, as we understand him, her, it, all, universe, to be calling upon us for. And so that's what we use that time for. It is 9 months, just as Brother Aaron said. I find that, you say 9 months of a program, people go, that's a long program. Well, I mean, you've been here a long time. It's going to take a long time to adjust some of the matters and strengthen some of your already beautiful assets. And so that's what we do. We take those 9 months and ask you to put your life in rites, as opposed to finding another place on your calendar to stuff your rites of passage program. That makes a major shift in the way you will live your life for those 9 months. And inshallah, if it is God's will, you will find a way to internalize all that you develop, all that you gain through rites, and manifest it going forward through the rest of your years. So that's my attempt at catching up with you, Brother Aaron, adding to where you were.
And I appreciate you, sis, for coming on board with us and sharing with us. You might need to lower your volume just a bit on your end. But I appreciate the energy that you bring in, and to hear Brother Aaron speak of you, and the program that you've developed. It's almost like a Stargate. I was feeling like he was taking me through the Stargate, or at least I was kind of in the room, in the chair. If you've ever been to Disney World, and they're setting up what you're about to go through. And so he was setting me up for this travel through the Stargate. And, what's going to be on the other side? Well, I can't imagine what's going to be on the other side. And I don't want to imagine with the mind that I've been given. I can't wait to get this new mind so that I can live in this new world, because this other world has obviously, maybe served its purpose. But, for me, I'm ready to leave it. And not in the sense of because I'm depressed and I'm just done with this, so let me end it all. No, I don't want to end it all. I want to continue it. So I look forward to hearing more about what it is that you're doing at the Healing Lodge, and the energy and the work necessary in order to cause us to go through this. I'm going to use a butterfly again. We go from the caterpillar to the butterfly. Look forward to, spreading the wings and being that butterfly and transforming from this caterpillar. It's been nice. We did what we needed to do, but now, we're ready to move on. The environment is such spiritually and here of late politically, we're looking at, okay, obviously it's time, it's time for us to go into the cocoon and reach into ourselves and into this space of power and so much. There's so much that's out here. We look forward to reaching into that space, and so I want to hear more about the Healing Lodge, and maybe even before you go further into that, where are you from and what put you in a space and mindset to even, open yourself up, your spirit, to venture out and become this light to the world?
Well, I'm born first generation in Washington, D.C. People from the South Carolina Islands, the inland, North Carolina, as well as some parts of Arima, Trinidad, and before that, Bamileke in Cameroon, Yamasee and Shawnee here on Turtle Island, and my people are from the mountains in Cameroon, in the region called Bamileke. And I am gifted by the lines, the bloodlines that flow, and the cellular memory representing my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, and the fathers along that line as well. I am very, 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 very thankful for all that they've given me. Through those lines, I have the work of herbology, the work of midwifery, the work of farming, the work of the helping services. I'm very clear that in my belief, there is one healer and there's one healing force or source. So those who I come from are all helpers. That's my people.
There you go. There you go. And I can imagine that going into the field of work that you're into, there had to be some contemporary opposition. Girl, you just need to do what we doing. Why you got to change the world?
Yes, I am again honored to say that that was not the way in my household, but certainly, growing up in the DMV, I like to joke that Aaron is 10 times my age, but he looks 10 times younger than me. So, growing up in the era of early 90s, late 90s in DC, it was hard trials, and the streets were very, very, very real. Not the same as the dynamic that we live now, but surely it was intense times. And so, yeah, there was some hardship to that. I'm born a particular kind of energy that I feel and sense most things that are happening around me. And to be raised that way in this city, in any city, frankly, there's a lot of difficulty that comes with that, just in dealing with your senses, all of them, not limited to the five as represented in the Eurocentric model, but all of the senses and all of the realms. You know, this is a God who is the Lord of all the realms. That implies those beyond that one that we are residing in the physical sense. So being attentive to all of those aspects of yourself and all of those realms can be very difficult from an urbanite environment. And yes, I did live that experience and have to show for it. And that's why I live in the trees now, brother, because
Yeah, there's an image that when you talked about living in the trees, there's an image that I have of somebody walking out in the forest, and they said the caption was, you know, there's no Wi-Fi, but you know, there's a great connection.
That is Za'yn.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, there's no Wi-Fi, no internet out here, but man, the connection is there, and so I can relate to, you know, I kind of find myself, I was looking out the window this morning, I find myself, at least on the back side of my house, there's nothing but woods, you know, so I get a chance to engage in nature and that side of life before I jump in my, you know, 7,000-pound metal truck and make my way here to the restaurant. So I get a moment of nothing but nature, and the trees and the foxes and the deer and whatever else might come across my path back there. But so I can definitely relate, and I can surely relate to our need to reconnect to that, which has not changed except the changes that it had to endure as a result of us human beings and our need to dismantle and break down all that nature is, but yet and still, you know, nature thrives and continues to provide for us the source and the resource that it is. But so yeah, I look forward to learning more about it and carving out time in my life in doing something that I think is essential, that we have to disengage, you know. And I was just Brother Aaron here, where we were looking for an image because we wanted to have an image of you up while you were speaking, and I made the mistake, and you'll have to forgive me, you don't even know the mistake I made. I said, well, look on her Facebook page, and he looked at me like, no, brother, no, she doesn't have a Facebook. And I was like, oh, my phone, yeah, I should have picked that up.
Yeah, she lives off the grid.
That's
for real.
That's what's up. Well, that's exciting, and you know, so many of us feel like this is the only life that we know. This is the only life that there is. You know, how do you get somebody to disconnect from this umbilical cord? Unfortunately, the umbilical cord here isn't giving life, but it's actually sucking life away from us. How do you get somebody to disconnect from the only thing that they know, you know, and, you know, you deal with the fear factor of, well, I'm going to disconnect, but am I going to be okay?
Yeah, you know, I like to look at this from the perspective of who we are. You know, we are hybrid people right now. Sure, you know, our origin, our essence is absolutely pure. However, we, the children of Africa, the children of this turtle island, you know, we call ourselves the children of two shields. We came up in a bit of a retardation. You know, it was divinely orchestrated, but that which we come from is not where we are. You know, Bible says, I think it's in Revelations, speaks of us kind of coming in to a place, a strange land with a strange people, being of servitude to them for over 40 years. That's sacred text. And so being in that place of servitude, you build a different set of skills. I mean, literally, your cellular alignment is different. So I find it beneficial to honor that we are a hybrid at this time and not yank people from their, what they perceive as their lifeline. You know, we believe that those things that we call comforts here, the technology and the, you know, living with our feet off of the ground, there's some comforts. We like things a certain way now, but I like to take it slow, giving people the opportunity to know that a space, one, that it is your nature to be in alignment with nature. You cannot be all that you are when over 75% of your body is water, when so much of you is made of earth. You know, the whole idea of ashes to ashes and, you know, getting back into the earth at the point of the transition through the realms, you know, that means that you come from that. And so that means you continue to be that. So we go slow, we take our time, make some weekend trips out to the lodge, find ways to then incorporate aspects of that work into your residence. Are there living plants in your house? Do you make it your business to put your feet in the soil on a regular basis? Do you stop and breathe? You know, I was listening to the question about how many breaths we take in a day, and my actual response to that was not enough, because I find that many people are holding their breath. Many people don't even realize that they are not breathing, that they spend most of their time in some state of abatement, almost waiting for something to happen. And we also don't do the other most natural thing, which is sleep. It's impossible for the body to do what it needs to do without such. We don't live in the dark anymore. We never have just dark. We got blue lights going, you know, street lights going. So you actually never get the body back to its healthiest state. So those are some of the ways of easing people in. One, commit to 2 nights a week where you will go to bed at an hour that is respectable for your body. What does your body need? And then making sure that you're making connections to the planet. It heals you and it heals the planet. Simple, simple ways. And I could keep going forever on that subject. It's my favorite thing.
Okay. Yeah. It's a new world, and I'm thankful that you would have the time to come on and share with us. You know, and
Absolutely.
Your history from North Carolina. You know, we know that things are changing down there, and we know that things are changing very rapidly, and a lot of that culture and that history.
South Carolina.
Oh, South Carolina. Okay, that history is changing. Tell us about our people there, you know, and about that world that you came from, that you're reconnecting to and through back to yourself.
You know, I think that when things are simpler, it's easier to stay in alignment with that which is righteous. My people don't have much, so they're not working as hard to disconnect from as much. You know, there's not as many layers between them and the earth. And I mean that in the sense of, like, most can't afford these things that we have up north, you know, and people are just living a simpler way. And therefore there's less to have to fight against to be back in alignment. There are those things that we know have impacted the entire country and the world. But in general, stuff is just simpler. You know, and I wanted to, kind of reflecting on what you said about the new world and the changing world, I like to remember now that in the way of the song, Somebody Prayed for Me, you know, Christian dynamic, I like to remember that we prayed for this transformation. We called on this. We are not victims now. Right now, we are watching the manifestation of all that we prayed for. It's impossible to make a statement like, I want things to be different, and then be upset when difference comes. You know, I believe that an angel has been placed at the helm. Not every angel is divinely beautiful, but angels are, you know, quickenings, people who quicken the movement of a thing. And this is one who comes quickening the movement of a thing. The country, this one who's been put into position now, 100 days of, you know, we're preparing for what his first days will look like in office. This is time for us to celebrate that our grandma prayed for us. This is what they've been asking for. It may not look like we expected it to look, but how were we to know? Unless we read Bible, because it says, unless we read Quran, unless we read Bhagavad Gita. The messages are all there. Okay. If we were wise, then we would see. But otherwise, we'd be looking at this like, what is going on? Oh, woe is me. The world is coming to a crash. Well, it is in alignment with all that we ask for. So therefore, transformation will come. You must be in the dark in order to make your way to the light. There's no midpoint. Otherwise, you don't even know the difference between the two. So what I believe is happening for my people down south is a somewhat simplified version of what we're experiencing here. You know, it's funny to talk about DC as up north, right? But as we are experiencing a little further north.
Mm-hmm. And the lodge, this healing lodge, is this in this local area, or is it down in South Carolina?
No, we're in Brandywine, Maryland.
Oh, okay.
It's a lot of woods in this area, bro.
Oh yeah, you can get real country going down in
Yeah.
Brandywine.
Yeah. Well, it is literally in the trees in Brandywine. I can honestly say that one, it's about 50 minutes outside of Center City, DC, and everyone who comes eventually says, "I can't make myself leave, or I can't wait to come back." Yeah.
Oh, wow.
To chime in on something that you said earlier about being in nature and the fact that we're designed to be in nature and we can't really get away from that. That speaks to indigenous culture worldwide. Every indigenous culture, people live their lives in attunement, in tune with their natural environment, their natural surroundings. With the advent of the whole concept of war against nature, humanity has been distorted. So in the process of really any type of transition, basically what we're doing is we're getting back to nature. We're redeveloping culture that's tied to nature, because as Sister Wangari Maathai of the Kenya Greenbelt movement said so poignantly, there's wisdom in the culture. And I would add to that wisdom is that the culture is tied to nature. And basically our ability to integrate and to operate on this terra firma, on this big blue marble with all of this water. So I like that you brought that out, and I want to really get grounded in that, people have that grounded in their awareness that we basically just going back to who we were and truly who we are, except for at this time it has to be a dynamic shift and transition from where we are to who we are to be. And that's why you've been called, I've been called, even Dr. Baruch has been called to create something different so that we can begin anew, not save anything that's existing, but move from it. And I like the way Dr. Baruch basically set it up, that in essence the Healing Lodge and the rites process is a cocooning process, a process where we go through a metamorphosis where we're no longer that caterpillar crawling around in the dirt. Not that crawling around the dirt is a terrible thing when it's real dirt, and there's a real attachment. So when we come out on the other side, transformed, able to soar above, we're still of the earth, but now we see with different eyes from a different vantage point. We can get oversight and gain what Bob Marley so aptly put as overstanding, where we're not under the stand or under someone else's guise of what they call rule and regulation and what have you. We're able to come into our own and have an awareness of who we are and how we operate in the now.
Sister Za'yn, anything to add to that?
The first thing that comes to my mind is the sanctuary retreat. We offer the space at the Healing Lodge to anyone who's interested in coming out. It's a 3-day process. You basically just come and stay. We do have some inside lodging, but much of your time is spent out on the land, in honor of our African and our native indigenous culture to this land. We utilize that of our ancestral tree, our teepee, our sweat lodge, the longhouse called the lodge, and all elements of nature, giving people the opportunity to make a gentle but distinct disconnect, to retrieve themselves, realign themselves before coming back into all that life requires of you. I think it is important for us to, in having this moment together and talking about rite of passage, I want to acknowledge that life does initiate you. This life is moving us. It is impacting us. It is causing us to have to really look at what we say we believe and who we say we are in alignment with, who in the sense of the divinity we say we are in alignment with. And the sanctuary process gives one the opportunity to kind of check out of busyness and align with being. And much times we are not ever fully present in any one thing because we have so many technologies to busy us, so we're not completely thinking about that. We're not fully completing that. We're not totally listening into that conversation or connecting with our loved ones, our spouses, intimate, beloved ones. That's not really happening because so much is going on at one time. For individuals to come out and just be with self and all that you come from a natural perspective, I think is so very, very important, especially now, because there's a lot in motion. And, we are, as you said, there's a shifting of worlds in that liminal space. You feel it. Lots of people today are feeling it. There are higher rates of health challenges all the way over to, melanin people deciding that they can't be here anymore. Not in the way that you described, saying you want out, but pulling themselves off of the planet because it is intense times. I believe, though one must have, I believe people just have the clarity of, people need to have the clarity of understanding that a mental health issue is a spiritual health issue. A spiritual health issue requires spiritual care. And we are not in a system or setting that on its surface is ready to acknowledge that. So if you know that there is a matter, then first retreat to nature in the sense of your nature, and connect with your spiritual helpers, guides, in order to address all matters, and then work with some tandem care, like, brothers like Brother Aaron and others, and food for life in the way that you offer to the community. These are beginnings to coming back into balance. And that's what comes to my mind when I hear you speaking in this way, Brother Aaron.
Thank you. I think now would be a good time for me to share this breathing technique.
Great.
And I call it breath mastery because it allows you to master the breathing process. And as I say, master the breathing process, or master your breath and master life. So here we go. Quick explanation. This tongue placement to the roof of the mouth and curled back basically facilitates opening the passageway for more oxygen to get in. And then when you exhale using the sound, maintaining the H throughout, allows for what's called the cleansing breath. So it massages the internal organs and squeezes out more carbon dioxide and allows for more space for more oxygen to get in. So you basically improve the oxygen intake and uptake and the expulsion of carbon dioxide, therefore increasing your breathing capacity and your spiritual capacity. So everyone, place the tip of the tongue to the roof of the mouth, curl it back nice and gentle, mouth closed. Inhale nice and gentle and experience the breath as it goes into the body. Lungs full. Release the tongue, drop the jaw, open the mouth. Exhale with a gently. One more time. Curl the tongue back. Inhale nice and slow. Release the tongue and exhale with a This is a very relaxing technique. So before you go to bed, it will help you get a good night's sleep. When you come out of a stressful situation, it will help you de-stress. It will reset those hormones. So instead of adrenaline and all of those endorphins surging through your body, it will get you some of the relaxing, feel-good hormones, so that you basically can come out of that space in more of a living mode than a struggling to survive mode. Whenever I'm dealing with firefighters, police officers, our first responders, I always instruct them, this is like when you get on the airplane, you got to get your breath first. So do your breathing exercises before you go in. That way you can have a more level head to deal with the situation. A lot of those police officers that found themselves, with their finger on the trigger and then expressing after the fact, I don't know. If they had done that simple technique, they would be in a different energetic space, and they would be less likely to just gun someone down and not know why. So this has, transformative impact, just that simple breath. Because again, when you master the breathing process, you master those aspects of life that allow you to really begin to live life and flourish.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely great, and I look forward to learning more about what it is that both of you all have to share, and the event that is taking place over the course of the next 9 months, the activity that is taking place over the course of the next 9 months, which is starting in January or the beginning of the year. Tell us how we can find out more, how people can sign up, get on board, and begin that process of being, recreated and initiated through this rites of passage.
Sure. Well, we have on this coming Saturday from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. we'll be hosting an open house for women. That open house is being held at the Adinkra Cultural Arts Studio in Mount Rainier. That's from 4:30 to 6:30. And the men's open house is from 7 to 9 p.m. It's possible for the men to make direct contact with Brother Aaron for more information, and the women can contact me or visit the website. The website is www.thehealinglodge.org. And it's important to put .org, as we have family members in North Dakota who have a healing lodge as well. So www.thehealinglodge.org. I encourage the brothers to get in touch with Brother Aaron directly. It gives you the opportunity to get a rich understanding of the program. And he is one of the men's preceptors. And that does require me to go back to, I heard, one of the things that I heard Brother Aaron say earlier was with Sister Za'yn at the lead. And I am adamant about, though I chastised by him in getting to understand the difference between spiritual rights and gender specific rights. So yes, sir, Brother Aaron got that. And I do honor the space where men and need to work in alignment with men. And that is not my space. My space is in the realm with the women in particular. So, Brother Aaron, feel free to connect them directly to you in terms of the men's rights.
Okay. My information is, well, first off, my phone number, 240-848-5448. 240-848-5448. Before I go any further, the address where the open house is going to be held is 3808 34th Street, Mount Rainier, Maryland. 3808 34th Street, Mount Rainier, Maryland. And since I got this opportunity to plug, that's for the rites of passage. I'm going to be conducting breath mastery certification starting December 1. To find out more information about that, you can go to my website, www.internalfitnesstrainer.com, internalfitnesstrainer.com. Also on social media at BreathMasterA. That's my handle, if you will, on social media. I'm not as off the grid as Za'yn. I would love to be. But anyway, that's how you can contact me and to get more information about the rights process and the whole breathing thing, so we can really help you become who you are.
Great, great, great. Well, I want to thank both of you for coming on and sharing with us something that I bet you most people don't know anything about. And before I go further, that date for this activity is, what's the date? And include the year.
The open house is this Saturday, November 19th. And
2016, because people will look at this video and be over there looking for you 2 years from now. And
yeah,
why you're
we
not
shouldn't
there.
let that happen. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So yes, this Saturday, November 19th, 2016. For the women, it starts at 4:30, and for the men, it's 7. And if I can just double back for a second, in working with women in birth scenario, I would want to encourage all the women who are childbirth educators, doulas, birth assistants, midwives, nurses, medical assistants, and the like, all those who work in that field, to training that Brother Aaron is doing. Many of our women end up with augmentations of their birth process because of difficulties in understanding the critical relationship between the mouth and the womb. If you don't know how to breathe, that sounds so simple, but if you do not know how to effectively breathe, it is very difficult to get the body to align and work with you through the stressors and traumas that we hold in the womb experience. So I'm encouraging all those birth workers, please join with me. It made a critical difference in so many of the births that I was able to be a part of, and I am fully supporting the work. So give thanks.
Great,
Wow.
great, great.
I'm thoroughly humbled by that. That's
Great.
phenomenal.
Great. Again, I want to thank you all both, Sister Za'yn and again, Dr. Aaron Motley, for coming on board with us and elevating our level of understanding of health and wellness here on the Health Literacy Show with Dr. Baruch and Sister Heleese. You all stay tuned for more great programming here on the eLife Media Network. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr.
Assalamu alaikum.